Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got a question here from Peter, and Peter actually sent me a pretty interesting email. Thanks, Peter, with a nice article in there. But he's got some I can kind of see where Peter's going with this question. So I'm going to paraphrase this, but essentially what Peter is asking is he's basically saying, look, how do you deal with someone who you need to influence, and they're not listening. They're saying, I know, but they're not taking any action. They're not doing anything. And how to gain influence with that person? Essentially, power, right? And I'm going to talk about power here in a bit. But Peter gives the example, right? He says, he knows how to win friends and influence people, positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement, right? I talk about this quite a bit. But he says, I'm assuming, Peter, in your work environment, that you've got someone that you're just having trouble dealing with, and that you need to be able to influence, and you have a time limit. You're not sure if just sitting back and asking questions patiently or positive reinforcement is going to work in this case. This is someone you depend on. That and this is an important relationship. So it's a difficult situation, right? Apparently, positive reinforcement may not be working in this case. So I want to talk about, in your work environment specifically, but in life in general, right, how to gain power, because I think this all relates to power and influence, right? And they're very similar in aspects, right? Someone who has power has influence. We could call this leadership, right? A leader has power and influence. They gain their power by their influence. So there's two essential ways here. But actually, before I get into this, I do want to talk about something that Peter mentioned. He basically mentioned, he said, Linus, right, who runs the Linux Foundation. He basically rules like with an iron fist, right? Oh, look at that. Anyway, he basically rules, right? If you've ever seen his emails, like, he is rude, he's mean, he scares the hell out of people. If you ask a stupid question, he will slam you down and he will tell you how it is, and that's it. That's his style. And that's how he rules, right? And it's effective for him, right? There's some trade-offs. I'm going to talk about that, but that is one potential way to gain power, leadership, influence, right? And so actually, let's talk about the two ways. So there's two basic ways, right? One of them is ruling by fear, and the other one is respect, right? And there's trade-offs between the two, right? So I'll tell you, and I mean, there might be some circumstances where you might need to use one or the other, but there's definite trade-offs. So let's talk about the fear-based ruling, first of all, what Linus does. So with fear-based ruling, and there's lots of examples of this in history, you've got, of course, Hitler, Mussolini, Kim Jong, the North Korean dictator, right? A lot of dictators throughout history have ruled by fear. Now, what we can say about that is, how did a lot of them end, right? A lot of them got their head on the guillotine, firing squad, killed, right? They usually ended in some kind of military coup, taken over, killed, right? Not pleasant ways to end. But they were effective for the period of time that they exhibited that power. So when you rule by fear, what ends up happening, or when you influence by fear, gain power by fear, however we want to call this, leadership by fear, what happens is that you are basically cashing in on a short-term benefit, right? So if I want someone to do something, right, I can make them do it by making them afraid of me, right? I can go and I can intimidate, I can threaten, right? I can use a gun, I can use a weapon, and I can make people do things. I can make an example out of someone else, like the mob does, right? I can have someone whacked, and then you're gonna respect me because, or well, I won't say respect in that case. It's you're going to be influenced by me because you're afraid of me, right? I'm going to have the power due to fear. Now, there's some problems with this, right? One is that it's something that you have to keep applying, right? If you don't keep someone in fear, they're going to rebel, right? And you're going to lose that power. That power is very temporary, it's very fleeting, because it's based on fear. The fear has to be kept up, has to be maintained, otherwise you're going to fall out of power. Second thing is, people aren't going to like you, so they're going to be plotting against you. They may do what you want, but their heart is not following you, right? You might win their minds, but not their hearts. So the first opportunity they get to double cross you, they're going to, right? And so you're going to see that. You're going to see sullen compliance, right? And then but there's an advantage to using fear, which is that it happens quickly, right? So if you need someone to act quickly, right? So for example, let's say that your 3-year-old runs out into the street where a car is coming. There's a patient way to teach this lesson, right? And to instruct and to gain, control, leadership, power, whatever you want to call it. And then there's a quick way. The quick way is to inspire fear. The quick way is to yell, "Hey, get back over here! Don't cross that street!" and to put the fear into that child, and they're gonna comply. They're going to be afraid. I will beat your butt if you run into the street again, right? And that might be actually the best strategy in that case, because you have to make sure that this child does not do that again, because that's a life or death scenario. In a war, that could be a life or death scenario. Maybe in your job, there might be some instances where fear is going to make sense, where force is going to make sense, because it's critical. This is life or death. We're going to lose millions of dollars. Like, I don't have time to explain this to you. I don't have time to work the slow way. We got to work the fast way. But you're gonna, it's a trade-off. When you do that, you're gonna lose a lot of credibility. You're gonna lose respect, which we're gonna talk about in a minute, and you are going to, basically be taking a big withdrawal out of that emotional bank account. People are not going to trust you. You're going to be undermining your long-term effectiveness and power. But sometimes you might want to make that trade-off, right? Okay, so now let's talk about the other side of this. The other side of this is respect, right? The other way to get someone to do something you want, or to be a leader, or to get people to follow you and to have power, is to have them respect you. And this is something that has to be earned. It's not immediate, right? It's from consistency of behavior. It's by setting example. People respect someone who they admire because that person has shown a consistent set of character or qualities over a period of time and has dealt with them fairly and shows a genuine interest in that person. There's a formula for this, and you'll notice that that's how you gain that respect, which in turn gives you influence and power. And there's charismatic leaders that are able to do this. I would think that probably Martin Luther King Jr. would be a good example of one of those. A lot of cult leaders, believe it or not, they don't rule by fear. They rule by charisma, by helping people, by inspiring, by acting within a consistent set of values, even if they might be crazy. But you can see how this works. In fact, that level of power or influence is a much more stronger and long-lasting power. It just takes longer to build, right? So this is where the positive reinforcement comes in place, right? And you can kind of spin this, flip this coin. Negative reinforcement could be that fear-based, right? You do this or else. And it's going to be somewhat effective, like I said, in the short term. But the positive reinforcement is going to be, oh, good, I see that you did this. I'm giving you a reward, or I'm giving you praise for this. It's going to take longer to build that, but then it's going to be more permanent and more lasting. And you're going to have someone's mind and their heart. They're going to actually, follow you for a length of time. They're not plotting to kill you as soon as they get a chance. So that's that's kind of the basics of this. And so, to get to Pete's question here, the answer, I mean, it's complicated. In the short term, you can use some kind of a fear tactic if it's absolutely critical, but realize that you're going to be undermining your own authority. You're going to be undermining your lasting influence on a person by using that tactic. I'm sure you might have had a boss, right? We've all had bosses that have used the fear-based tactic. And were we really loyal to that person? No. Did we do what they said because we were afraid we were going to get fired or get yelled at? Yeah, maybe. But as soon as the opportunity came to get out of there or to take them down a notch, we took that opportunity. So that's one approach. But I recommend, unless you have a real good reason to use the fear approach, like this is life or death or war, that you take the respect approach, which takes longer, right? You're going to have to set a lot of groundwork. You're going to have to do things like lead by example. You're going to have to be patient and understanding and really thinking about the other person. As soon as someone believes that you care about them and you care about helping them and furthering their cause, that's when they're going to be more likely to subscribe to you, to give you respect. You're going to earn respect by being consistent. People can depend on you. They know that you are always, every day, going to be doing the right thing, that you're setting that example, that you're showing that consistency over time. So that's what it really comes down to, is, and there's really those only two ways. That's the way that people rule. And so the Linus, I think that technique, obviously it works, but there's a lot of drawbacks to that, using that fear-based. The respect-based technique, hopefully if you're following me, if you're subscribing to this YouTube channel or my blog and a customer of my courses, it's because of the respect. I don't think it's because of the fear. I don't think that you're following me because you're afraid of me. I certainly hope not, although, these guns, right? But anyway, so that's the key, right? That's the long-lasting approach, and it's going to be difficult with coworkers. I'll say one last thing on this topic, which is sort of off topic, but the idea of, okay, what if someone says yeah, and then they don't follow your advice, right? You're trying to instruct, you're trying to influence someone, but they don't care. So there's two kind of things with this. One is some people are not going to care. They're not interested. They're just going to shine you on, and they're going to say, I know I should do this. And you can't control that, right? Someone has to be motivated to want to change in order to change. So you just have to chalk that up for experience and move on, and don't waste your energy and time. Don't give advice to people who don't want it. It's a waste. The second thing you can do is, can you find, in that case, some way to influence that person to find out what do they want. If you find out what they want and show them how to get it, then you're going to have that influence, right? So for example, if you're telling someone something and say, oh yeah, I know, right? Let's say losing weight. Let's say this one, because this one all the time. Oh yeah, I know, I should stop eating Twinkies or whatever, blah, 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 and they're still eating Twinkies. But because they're not motivated, right? They know the guilt doesn't work. That's sort of negative reinforcement. But if you said, hey, this thing that you want to do, you could do this if you could be healthy. Hey, you could totally run a marathon. You could totally, you got to figure out the thing that motivates them, that they want, and then show how doing what you want them to do will get them there. Sometimes there's not a connection. Sometimes it's just not going to work. And if it's a coworker, right? Maybe they don't care. Maybe they just want to get their paycheck. And if you can't come up with that compelling thing that's going to make them change, why should they write unit tests? Well, because it's the right thing to do. Don't care, right? Because you could get a better job. I saw this job, 20% more salary, but it requires someone to write unit tests and to understand that. Okay, now you're connecting with something that they want. So anyway, a little bit long here, but hopefully you find this useful. Just remember, power, two ways: fear or respect. Choose one. They both have trade-offs. All right, I'll talk to you next time. Take care, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See ya.